monsters of rock. All right, there is a bird in my house, but I'm glad that there is because it's taking my mind off of a little problem that I'm having. I've got some bad news about this shoe. This is the Odyssey Triple Crown Magic hiking shoe from Salomon. And if you think that it's cool that Salomon has got a tie-dye shoe, I've got some bad news. Salomon never intended anybody to hike the AT, PCT, and CDT in this shoe. The shoe is about 1 inch too long. All right, so I've got a 10.5 inch foot. I fit into a United States size 10.5. The 10.5 should be about 11 inches long. This shoe is about 1 foot long. And so the purpose of that is basically to have a wider toe box, kind of like the Ultra Lone Peak. But because Salomon wasn't really sure how to tailor the shoe with a wider splayed toe box, they just literally added like a 1/2 inch to the front, back, left, and right side of the shoe. And so when you lace up the shoe, it bunches up in the front here because there's too much material. When you lace the shoe shut, there's this like extra material at the base of the tongue. Where your toes touch the tongue, this like bunches up because it doesn't fit properly. All right, so the Salomon Triple Crowner, it has an unreasonable amount of space in the shoe. The shoe is just unreasonably big. As you can see, my toe is right there, and the entire front of the shoe is there. Basically, the shoe doesn't fit. And back in the 90s, if I bought like an Adidas shell-toed shoe that was too big, I wouldn't try to buy it in a smaller size. Because of the arch right here in the middle of the shoe, that's going to be too far back, and your heel is going to be stepping down onto that arch of the shoe. If the shoe is manufactured too big, most likely it's not going to help if you try to buy it like a size smaller. So I'm not even going to bother. I emailed Salomon and just told them the shoe's too big. They asked me to send it in. So the way that I got this shoe was I photographed a pair of XA Pro 3Ds, and they said that they were covered under warranty, and they gave me $130 credit, and I bought these shoes for $10. They're too big, and I have to pay to send them back, but then I guess I'll have $140 credit at Salomon. Basically, all of the Salomons are identical. This shoe is identical to the Sense or the XA system. The XA comes in an aqua shoe, which I'm pretty interested in getting. I think it's $160 or maybe $180, but it looks pretty awesome. Or it comes in, or you get the Sense, or they've got the Speed Pro. They've got a couple different versions of this shoe, but they are seriously all the same thing. What you really get that's different on each shoe is the tough rubber outsole. So with each Salomon, you get a upper, an EVA midsole, and a tough rubber outsole. The tough rubber outsole on all of the Salomons does wear off, but as you can see on this Triple Crowner, the lugs are flat. And that is sort of what you want. If you want a shoe that has some longevity, that has a tough rubber outsole that's going to wear down slower, the trick is to get a shoe with flat lugs on the bottom, which this shoe has. So it's a real shame that the shoe is just manufactured an inch too big, because if it had fit, I definitely was going to use it. It does have this protective toe on the front, but because the shoe is really big, your feet slide back and forth, and especially your big toe will rub against this tough rubber section right here. You can literally stick a finger in between your heel and the back of the shoe here. So, okay, basically with Salomon, getting back to like buying a Salomon, what does Salomon offer? They basically just offer the same shoe with a bunch of different kinds of lugs. These flat lugs are probably one of the best. All of the different lugs are going to wear off. But Salomon has addressed that. And once you wear down your shoes, you can photograph those shoes, Salomon will tell you that what you did to the shoes is covered under warranty, and they will send you credit for that shoe, and you can literally just buy another one. That is actually one of the best return policies outside of REI. The XA Pro 3Ds that I had were 2.5 years old, and they honored the warranty, and I ended up with this shoe. The other thing that Salomon offers is they offer this tough, protective, laminated EVA midsole. So what you have here is you have a soft, protective EVA foam, and it doesn't really lose its loft over time because it's laminated and it's kind of tough and protective. So it isn't extremely squishy. With other shoes, you get a softer EVA foam that feels really good underneath your feet. The Lone Peak 3.5 is particularly popular, and it has what's called a maximist amount of EVA foam under it. But that sensation, that soft sensation that you get from that EVA foam, is the feeling of the air being squished out. So as you step down, the air is squished out of the EVA foam, and after about 2 months, it goes flat, and the shoes need to be replaced. Now with Ultra specifically, you can't replace them after 30 days unless you bought them from REI. REI will allow you to trade them in for 1 year. But if you accidentally buy your Lone Peak 3.5s from Ultra, you'll be stuck with them after 30 days. You get a tough, protective EVA midsole and outsole. What that does is it prevents you from being distracted by your feet. So rather than hiking and thinking about your feet all day and thinking about how your feet hurt and stuff like that, it's basically just protective padding for your feet so that you aren't distracted by your feet. You're not really thinking about your feet. You're mostly just thinking about trees or talking to friends or figuring out your navigation issues, or figuring out what you're going to eat, when you're going to do that, how soon you're going to get to the waterfall or the camp or whatever. You're thinking about other things while you're hiking other than your feet because you're not walking on some type of amazing soft EVA foam. You're just walking on tough protective shoes that allow you to hike and enjoy it without thinking about your feet. Personally, I'm not a really big feet guy. One of the reasons why I wanted to get tie-dye shoes was just to have a little bit of fun with my feet. Rather than having feet that hurt, I just wanted to have colorful feet that were fun to look at. And I'm kind of disappointed that I have to send this shoe back. So when we take a look at the Salomon website, listed at the top of the list of shoes, basically they list the best shoes. And then as you go down the list of shoes, down at the very bottom, they start to list the worst shoes. So they start off with the Predict, which has flat lugs, which I have been recommending. And supposedly it fits the best out of all of their trail running, trail hiking shoes. Then they kind of get into the Sense, which also is supposedly really, really good, but it's got kind of soccer cleats that rub off. Then they get into the XA, the XA system. They get into a couple different kinds of shoes that they sell that all have like soccer cleats. And then they kind of get into some lame shoes, some hiking shoes and stuff, some unmentionable shoes, and some flip-flops. And then all the way down at the bottom of the list is the Odyssey Triple Crown Magic. You know, it's like listed all the way down at the bottom of their list of shoes as like one of their worst shoes. It's actually listed right next to the flip-flops and the shoe gaiters. So it's like even listed as almost like an accessory. And that's sad. You know, it sucks that Salomon isn't really selling the shoe, and maybe they regret selling the shoe, or I'm not sure what Salomon was getting at by even making the shoe. I could tell you that it would be great to wear at a rock concert during the summer. It doesn't really protect your feet from the cold. And I think that the upper probably is going to collect dirt. But that's really all I have to say about the shoe. I wouldn't recommend buying it personally. I'm going to be sending it back.